Hello, my lovely people. My name is Quori-Tyler, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the 11 books I've read so far this summer. Just so you know, I'm a huge Big Brother fan. I'm currently watching the live feed, so if you see me look over to my TV, just know there's important conversations being had. Big Brother live feeds are life. Big Brother live feeds are life. Let me know if you're a Big Brother fan in the comments below. I feel like we're a niche community, but strong. A little preface before I get into the books. These are all the books I've read in June and July. I normally read about 8 books a month, but I've kind of, in these last 2 months, gone down to 5 or 6 in the month. And it's because I'm in a little bit of a reading slump. I keep saying, it's not really a reading slump, but I think it is. It's not because the books have been bad. It's because, I don't know, I've just been lacking the motivation to actually pick up a book and read for long periods of time like I normally do. I can't, bring myself to, move my eyes around the page. That's why I'm combining my June and July wrap-up together. So, yeah, let's just get into the books. Enough talking. So I started off June with a book that I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about, Do I Know You? Okay, for some of the books, I don't really remember my ratings because I read them so long ago, about 2 months ago now. So I'll just put the stars on the top of the screen. But starting with Do I Know You, I really liked this book. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, so I was interested to pick up a book that I just didn't know much about. It's about this couple that kind of is losing the flame in their marriage. So they go on a couple's retreat kind of thing, but while they're there, there's also a lot of singles there. One of the guys thinks that the couple is actually single, so he tries to pair them together. They basically pretend to be single for the weekend while they're there, try to re-spark those flames, and we kind of just go through that journey of finding out why it's kind of fizzled out and seeing if they can rekindle things. So this one was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. It started off my June strong, and because of this, I wanted a book that was similar to this, so I decided to read The Honeymooners by Christina and Lauren. So this is a writing duo. This is my first time reading one of their books. I really want to read their other book, Love in Other Words, that people are obsessed with, but I started with The Honeymooners. This one is kind of the reverse of that one. It's two people that are single. They have to go on this vacation together and pretend that they're married. That's the only way they can go on the vacation. So they pretend they're married. It's kind of like an enemies to lovers. They've known each other for a little while, for a few years, and never really liked each other, or they thought that the other person didn't like them. It's very bantery, very witty. I was obsessed with this book. Do not comment anything bad about this book,
or I probably will block you.
It was very rom-com-y. I felt like I was watching Just Go With It with Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler. Those were the vibes it was giving me. In Hawaii, pretending to be a couple. It was just so good. I could really visualize everything in this book. So I highly recommend The Honeymooners. Next up, I read Happy Place by Emily Henry. This one, I can remember I gave a 5-star. It was absolutely everything that everyone has been raving about was correct. This book was so good. It gave the summer vibes. It's based in Maine. I'm seeing a trend with my book choices so far in June. This was kind of fake dating. It's a couple that has been dating and is engaged to get married. They go to the summer house with their best friends, and it's their last time going to the summer house because the house is getting sold. They're pretending to be together for the summer just so that it doesn't ruin the vibes of their whole friendship group. It's a little bit of fake dating, but they have history. They're engaged to get married. They're just about to break up. Yeah. A lot of people cried during this book. I can't say that I was one of them. There was parts that were sad, but I've read sadder things before. I could really feel the chemistry. I loved the found family in this, the friendships. It is worth all of the hype. Up next, we went to my favorite series. I kind of spread out how I read the Magnolia Parks series because I don't want it to be over. So next I read Magnolia Parks The Long Way Home, and it ruined me. It did. I'm not gonna lie about that. It ruined me. This is the third book in the Magnolia Parks series. There's Magnolia Parks, Daisy Hates, The Long Way Home, and then Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. So it kind of goes between Magnolia Parks, Daisy Hates, Magnolia Parks, Daisy Hates. I will say, when I read Daisy Hates, I was obsessed with Daisy and still am. Literally would put my life on the line for Daisy. And so because of that, it made me feel I don't know if I even want to read Magnolia's story again because I just love Daisy. I wanted another Daisy book, but I wasn't going to skip to The Great Undoing, so I had to read Long Way Home, and Magnolia just really is a great character. I think she came a little bit more alive for me in this book than in the first book. The first book kind of just set up the relationship between her and BJ. It's a toxic romance, if you don't know. In London, they're young adults and they're super rich and kind of famous, Paris Hilton vibes, famous for being elite and rich. They go back and forth between being together, not being together. This book I don't care if they have a toxic relationship, they belong together. I'm the person to say it because no one's saying it, but Magnolia and BJ belong together. I don't care what they do to each other, they belong together. And this book proved that for me personally. It might not prove it for everyone because some crazy stuff happens. And then the ending, very sad, made me cry. Like, this series is like that Theo Von audio for me, where it's like, if you put cigarettes in the bottom of a wishing well, and you got a flashlight and you look down in here, I'd be in there. That's what this is for me. Another 5 stars, by the way. That was a 5 stars. Okay, next we get into the Windy series. The Windy City. Next we get into the Windy series. Windy City series. The Windy City series by Liz Tom Ford. I have been so excited to read these books. I'm not sure why. I think the covers I'm just obsessed with, and I kept seeing them on Instagram, and I was like, I need to pick those books up and read them. And so I read actually Mile High in June and then The Right Move in July. I literally just read this like last week, but I want to put them together to talk about it together. Absolutely obsessed. The first one is an ice hockey romance. The second one is a basketball romance. The first one was amazing. Great. Loved it. Every single second of it. I'm obsessed with Xander's. Stevie's character development was beautiful. Like, I really felt her as a character and her insecurities, and like, it just made sense to me. Xander's, great boyfriend, great hockey player, obsessed with everything. The Right Move, one of my favorite books that I've read, at least this year, at least in the last 2 years. I don't know if it's because I'm just a basketball fan. I don't really know hockey, but this made me want to go to a hockey game. But The Right Move, the basketball of it was everything. I was absolutely obsessed with Indy. I loved her as a character. I didn't know if I would like her because she's introduced in this book as the main character's best friend. And we didn't know too much about her, but I thought she was a little like spacey airhead. But this book really gave her more depth. I loved Ryan. Like, we all need a Ryan in our life. I liked their conflict. There was 2 like third act breakup kind of things at the end of the book that I didn't love, and I felt like we could have chose either or. We didn't need both of them. So yeah, that's what like kind of knocked it down a little bit of a notch. So I gave it, I think, a 4.5 instead of a 5. These books are amazing. I can't wait for the third book to come out. I don't know who the third book is based after. I think it's one of the baseball players that we meet in The Right Move. Love how these books are written, but they are very long, and sometimes I feel like they don't need to be this long. I'll take it because I love the stories. Okay, next up, I read Before We Were Strangers. This has been on my TBR for months, like since the beginning of the year, and I never really gave it a chance because I was like, I don't really care. Like, it felt like a throwaway book that like I wouldn't care about. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. This book tore me up. I still think about this book on the daily. I still think about these characters. I still think about, there's a little plot twist at the end. It's not really a plot twist, but like something comes up that we weren't expecting. The way that this book can make me cry on demand. Like, if I want to cry, I'll probably read this book again. It was so well thought out. Past and present timeline. Sorry, I always forget to give like the plot of the book. So it's about these 2 characters that are strangers, hence the name Before We Were Strangers. They meet in college. They're dorming right next to each other, so they grow really close and they get into a relationship, and they grow up very differently. So they have very different backgrounds. One is rich, one doesn't come from money. So it's an interesting dynamic to see them together. It's based in New York City, and so one day, one of the main characters, Matt, is waiting for the train, and a train passes by and he sees Grace on it, and he hasn't seen Grace in 15 years. He has no idea like what she's been up to in life and everything, and so he's just kind of trying to reconnect with her and find her in whatever way he can. Through him trying to find her, we keep getting flashbacks of when they met. So it's a nice past and present timeline. I don't always love past and present, but I think it was done really well in this book. Then we see them in the present trying to kind of justify and figure out what exactly happened to them 15 years ago, and work through that together. And it just is a beautiful story that really like pulls on your heartstrings. Okay, next we get to Done and Dusted. This one was an unexpected 5 stars for me. I did not know that I would be entering my cowboy romance era, but consider me yeehaw in it. Yeah. Brooks is the best book boyfriend I've read about in a long time. This book was just like an easy one to get through, and it really like puts you in that like cowboy scene, you know what I mean? Like, you really feel like you're in the country riding horses, watching these horse races and like whatever bull riders and stuff like that, and like it just makes me want to talk like this, you know what I mean? So Emmy Ryder comes back home. That's how the book opens up. She is like a famous horse rider, but she has a really bad fall, and she comes back home because she's trying to figure out like if she really wants to ride again or if she's just ready to settle back home in her small town. She has a close-knit family that owns like a ranch, and one of the before we were really interrupted, she connects with Brooke, which is her brother's best friend. So we have brother's best friend trope. They acknowledge that they like each other pretty early on in the book. So yeah, I really, really loved this book. And this was my first book of the cowboy romance drama. And so I really want to read the Elsie Silvers, the Chestnut Spring series now, because I just want to be in my cowboy era. Okay, up next I read When in Rome. I've been seeing this trending on TikTok and Instagram so much. Everyone's been reading this and The Perfect Match, which are both by Sarah Adams. And so I picked this book up because it was a short read. This is when I started kind of getting into my slump. And so I felt like I needed something quick and easy to read. And this was definitely good for this. I got through this book pretty fast. So this book is about a pop star, Amelia Rose, and we'll get into why I don't really love that. But Amelia Rose basically gets stuck in the super small town in Rome, Kentucky. She wants to have her Audrey Hepburn moment and just break free and go to Rome, but the closest Rome she could find was Rome, Kentucky. So she breaks down in the front yard of Noah's house, and Noah comes out there to help her. Yeah, he's a baker, so I love that he kind of has this edge about him, but because he's a baker, I feel like it brings this like soft side out of him, which I loved. The only thing I don't love about this book is that Amelia is a pop star. I cannot get with pop star tropes. I don't know if that's a trope, but I hate when a character is supposed to be like this huge singer or this huge actress or actor, but like in reality, like in our reality, they don't actually exist. I don't know why. It's hard for me to wrap my head around that when reading a book. I think it was a pretty good book. I don't know if it was worth as much hype as it got, but I think it's a good book. Like, I would recommend this to someone who's looking for a quick book to get them out of a reading slump. I would recommend this for someone who just wants to add another quick book to their wrap up for the month, or to a new reader. Honestly, this would be a great book for a new reader who wants to read about a romance that's a little bit more like fluffy. So I definitely would recommend this book still, but I don't think it's like this, oh my gosh, you need to put down the book you're reading right now and read this book, if you know what I mean. Okay, then that one almost got me out of my reading slump. Then I got to Summer of Broken Rules, and every single page I wanted this book to be over. I don't understand the hype of this book whatsoever. It's about this girl who she recently lost her sister. Her and her family go back to Martha's Vineyard, where they go every summer for vacation. It's their first time back since her sister died, and so, you know, that like, you understand what she's going through. And so every time they're in the Martha's Vineyard, their whole extended family is there, and they play this game of assassin. And apparently her sister, who passed away, used to love this game and used to always win it. And so, what is her name, the main character? So Meredith, who's our main character, decides that she's gonna win this game of assassin for her sister. And that's where you lost me, because I don't think that your sister cares if you win assassin or not. Like, it was just very juvenile, and we got way too deep into the semantics about the game and about like who was getting out of the game, and there was so many different characters, and like this person got this person out, and then this person got this person out, and then this random person I never heard of got this random person that I never heard about, and like it was just too much about the game. It felt too fluffy and light. Like, younger readers would probably enjoy this, but I also didn't even feel connected to the romance in this book. She teams up with the groom's cousin or something like that, or brother or something like that. And then they end up like falling in love or whatever, but I wasn't even really connected to that. So like, I just felt not connected to this book, but it was a good book, just not for me. I can recognize that this is a good book while also realizing that it's not the type of book that I like. It was just a little too juvenile for me. So the last book that we're going to talk about, it's not the last book I read, because the last book I read was The Right Move, but the last book we're going to talk about is Scarred. Yeah, so, yeah, okay. It's dark. I'll give it that. It is dark. And it's advertised as dark. It's advertised as a dark retelling of The Lion King, hence the name Scarred. We're following Scar and his storyline. I think the thing with this book is that it's too dark for me. I'll just start you out with that. It's way too dark for me. I don't think I'll be able to finish the series because, like, I wasn't expecting this. Like, the goriness of it, which that didn't even really bother me as much as like just the unexpectedness of how mentally insane these people were, because they're actual people that you're reading about. It's a retelling of The Lion King, but they're not like lions and stuff, you know, like they're actual people. Tristan Fossa, who is trying to get the throne, but his brother is actually the natural heir to the throne. Sarah is supposed to get married to Tristan Fossa's brother, the king. Sarah and Tristan end up having this like forbidden romance, and that was crazy. Like that was actually crazy. These two people do not belong together. They, as individuals, they're so insane and messed up and twisted in the head that like together they're even worse. And I just could not stand by this book. Every single thing that happened in this book, I felt like I had no one to root for. Like everything that was happening, I was like, no, this is not how you go about things. Just because like you had trauma in your childhood, this was just so crazy. But if you're looking for a crazy book, like, you found it right here. So these were the 11 books that I read in the months of June and July, so far this summer. And yeah, I'm really happy about all these books. I'm really just trying to like tell myself that it's okay that I didn't read 8 books in a month. And then I'm like kind of taking it slow. You know, I've been busy with work, I've been hanging out with friends and stuff. And so like life doesn't have to revolve around books. And I think sometimes in the book community we can feel like that because we're following all these bookstagrammers and book talkers, booktubers that are reading like 20 books in a month, and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta read. But then you forget that like that's basically their job for a lot of them. So I'm proud of myself for these 11 books, and you should be proud of yourself even if you read 1 book in the month. Even if you read 1 book this whole summer, you're doing better than a lot of people that are not picking up books to read, and I used to be one of those people. So I feel good to be a reader and be a part of this community and to share my love of books with you guys. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I have some more videos coming out. Other than that, I will see you guys soon. Love ya. Bye. Mwah.